Hi, my name is Scott Tubbs. I'm a cropping systems agronomist with the University of Georgia based in Tifton, Georgia. I work mostly on peanut agronomic research. A few years ago, we initiated several trials to assess replant decisions in peanut. We're assessing what is the original plant population and at what point do we trigger a replant decision for a farmer based on that original plant population. We've tried several different methods of replanting. That could include replanting by planting next to the original row, or wiping out the original row completely and just starting over with an entire new replant for the full field being a maximum seeding rate. The trial that I'm standing in front of right now, there is a replant decision where we're only replanting the initial gap in the field by forcing a 2-foot, 4-foot, or 6-foot gap in the row where the original plants were pulled out of the ground, and then replanting either just in that gap or replanting the entire row, which can make it easier on the equipment and the driver to not have to assess where the gaps occur. But the final phase of this project will be to hopefully use equipment where we can assess the gaps in the row while the machinery is moving through the field and only replant the sections of row that need to be replanted based on the research that we have for yield drag, for length of gap, and the potential to improve grade as well. So my replant trials have multiple phases to this research. We initiated with several trials a few years ago with a former graduate student of mine who wrote his dissertation on the topic. But we decided that that only scratched the surface of replant decisions. So we decided to take it to multiple phases on the project to reach the ultimate decision. And the projects that we have in Plains this year are a phase 2 project. We're assessing only the yield drag alone in the length of gap. In those trials we have 1-foot, 2-foot, and 3-foot gaps in the row after the initial planting by forcing and thinning those plants out to force those gaps in the row. And those gaps of 1, 2, and 3 foot occur either once, twice, or 3 times in each 40-foot row. So essentially we end up with a situation where we have 9 feet out of 40 feet of row missing from the field, or roughly very close to a 25% stand decline from what our original plant stand could be. But that research by itself does not assess the replant decision, and that's where our phase 3 project comes into play in Tifton this year, where we are not only removing the gaps, but we're also replanting those gaps either in the gap alone or with a full row replant. So there's multi-phases to this project that occur over time and in multiple locations. The ultimate goal of this research to help farmers will help them to assess a plant stand in the field and determine whether that plant stand is either uniform enough to leave alone, or if it is spotty enough to require a replant decision to help them improve either yield or grade, or hopefully both. So using field tools that we have, current technology, can allow this to become a precision technology project where the grower takes the guesswork out of it and can actually use a light sensor or aerial imagery and apply that map to the field after their original plant stand comes up, and be able to then plug that into GPS on the tractor and use a variable rate planter to supplement plant the seeding rate next to only the areas that need to be replanted, which will save the farmer seed cost for not replanting areas that don't need to be replanted. As a cropping systems agronomist, my research goes into more than just replant decisions. Some of my work focuses on rotations, how many years between peanut, and how does that affect the peanut plant when it grows in the field. Shorter rotations have a tendency to increase disease and nematode issues on peanut, can cause issues with herbicide resistance with weeds. So we are assessing rotation work. We're also focusing some of our research on inoculants and inoculant formulations, when to use inoculants, how much benefit do we get from inoculants, either in short rotations versus long rotations. Some of our work in the past has focused on tillage research, conservation or conventional tillage research. Some of it has focused on row patterns, twin row versus single row. Seeding rates has been a big part of our program in assessing seeding rates for either single row or twin row pattern, and helping farmers to make decisions to save seed cost in certain situations if it requires a lower seeding rate, or increase seeding rate if there is the potential to increase yield by increasing seeding rate in other situations.